Hey guys, Lisa Salvatore here. Today is October 7th and I am doing a quick video to talk about Pluto. So you've probably heard or read that Pluto has stationed direct as of October the 4th. Now I want to mention that back on October 3rd and on October 4th, I wanted to put out a video about Pluto because I personally have had a journey with Pluto the past 6 to 8 months. And I've always found Pluto to be extremely profound. He is a profound planet, as all of them are in astrology, but on the personal level, Pluto really does speak to us about depth and transformation and regeneration and renewal. And it's a slow process because it's a slow-moving planet furthest away from the sun, and oftentimes his effects are felt super significantly, but over a long span of time. And Pluto stationed retrograde back in April of this year, and officially, or technically I should say, stationed direct as of October 4th. However, it's interesting because I tried to do this video on October 3rd and 4th. I sat down to do it and I just wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't feeling connected, and I wasn't feeling the energy or intuitively tapped in at all. And I just was like, I can't do this because it's not authentic to me. I'm not feeling it. I don't know what I'm even going to say. So I left it. And I just figured I wouldn't, I went about my business. I've been busy. I haven't thought much about it. And then this morning, I was scrolling through Instagram, and one of my absolute favorite teachers / astrologers, Rick Levine, who's amazing. He's brilliant. I highly suggest you follow him if you don't already. He posted something about how technically Pluto's not direct. He's not really stationed direct. And I wrote it down because, just to be real with you guys, the way that I operate, the way that I work is, yes, I'm an astrologer, but I'm more of a personal astrologer. So I love to work with people on their individual birth charts and their soul's journey, and to talk about their patterns and their triggers and what's coming up for them through their planetary transits, and also their, just their energy in general. And yes, I study astrology, I study the planets, I study the patterns, but I'm very in tune with the energy. So for me, I love to help people through the birth chart, through that part of astrology. And yes, I do understand obviously what's going on collectively because I study it, but that's not really my jam. That's not really, I'm not going to do an astrology report for each week, or that's just not how I roll. I do it when I feel it. And that's why I wanted to do this, because like I said, I was feeling the Pluto. So then I went on and saw Rick this morning, and he mentioned that today's October 7th, so I wrote this down so I don't get it wrong. So back on September 29th, which by the way was just a crazy day astrologically anyway, with a Mars-Saturn square and some other stuff going on, Pluto in Capricorn actually was stationary. So at 22 degrees and 29 minutes. So he was stopped. And when a planet stops, it is at its height of power. That is where it's like the planet is stopped staring down at us and kind of really focused on us. And so Pluto was stopped on September 29th. Now, then on 10/4, October the 4th, when apparently Pluto stationed direct, Pluto was actually still at 22 degrees of Capricorn and 29 minutes. 22 degrees, 29 minutes of Capricorn. So he's still in the same position on October the 4th that he was at on September 29th. So he's still stationary. He has not moved. He has not gone back and forth yet. And then, technically, as of yesterday, 10/6, Pluto was also at 22 degrees and 29 minutes. Again, stopped. So officially, Pluto stations direct on October the 8th, sometime tomorrow, October the 8th, if I'm getting that correct from what Rick said. So, because Pluto, because Pluto takes so long to change direction, because Pluto is such a slow-moving planet, like I said, he went retrograde in April and he's going direct in October. So that's a significant amount of time. And it's no coincidence that he moves so slowly. He's an outer planet, along with Neptune and Uranus. In my professional and personal opinion, the outer planets are more responsible for the deep, profound catharsis that we go through as humans here on this soul path, on this journey. It's what we grow through to go through. Go through what we, am I saying that right? We grow through what we go through. And when those three planets are involved, those outer planets, because they pack a punch and they're longer lasting and they're slower, and they're definitely more subtle because they're more psychic by nature. So they're not as visible as the inner planets like Mars, Mercury, Venus. Closer to the sun we go, right? The sun is our identity. That's what the sun represents in astrology from the soul level. So it's like when we have those inner planets that are so close to the sun, we feel them more. They're more profound. They're more in our, not more profound, they're more in our face, let's just say. And then when we have the outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, like I said, we feel them deeper. They're longer lasting. Their effects are also longer lasting. So let's just go back to Pluto for a moment. Pluto rules over the 8th house in astrology. It's the house of Scorpio. It's the house of death and rebirth. And that death is also, yes, it can be physical, but most of the time it's metaphorical. And the key word about Pluto is permanence. So death is permanent when you think about it, right? So Pluto is permanence. So nothing goes back to the way it was when Pluto comes through. Pluto changes our life. Pluto is the life changer. Pluto is the game changer. Pluto takes us down to the bottom, right? Because Pluto is the god of the underworld in mythology. So he takes us down to the bottom, he plummets us down there so that we can strip everything away that is not working. And it is usually a painful process, by the way. And psychologically more so, because it is psychological. So he will do that to us only to have us rise up stronger and better, like the phoenix rising, which represents Scorpio. So when you think about it, Plutonian breakdowns often bring us to the best breakthroughs, but it is not without that process of pain that has to be experienced on the soul level, on the psychological level, right? Very deeply in order for us to change. Now, not everyone will lean into the lessons of their Pluto. Now, Pluto is generational, so anybody within your generation will have Pluto in the same sign, but it's different for everyone because it's going to fall in a different house in your birth chart, which are areas of life where that Plutonian energy would be concentrated. And then also different degrees, which obviously make a difference. And so depending on where your own personal Pluto is, that talks about your personal power, because Pluto's power, it's where we feel powerful. It's also where we can feel powerless. It's also where we have to learn to surrender, because Pluto in Scorpio is also about surrender. We can't always be in control of everything. We have to let go. And that's what Pluto teaches us. So linked below, I've done 2 videos. One is how to pull up your birth chart. The second one is how to pull up your transiting planets. And in that video, I specifically did it for Mars retrograde, but ignore the Mars part. Do it exactly the same and look for Pluto, which is the P glyph, which you'll see on the bottom in the grid. So you want to see what Pluto's doing in your chart natally, which means your birth chart, whatever your Pluto is by birth, and then look to your transits to see what he's doing and what he's been doing to get an idea of how you've experienced that, if you've leaned into it, what have you learned, where have you grown, what has died literally and is on the way of being reborn. Now, Pluto represents the shadow side of us, right? It's shadow work, and it's called shadow work because it's not fun necessarily, but it promotes the most growth and it takes us where we need to be when we let go and surrender to the lessons. And they're usually hard, they're not easy. I know personally for myself, I have been getting creamed by Pluto the past 6 to 8 months, and literally have experienced deaths within my family, female figures that I was very close with, and that were painful. Permanence, that's Pluto. So I've experienced other things as well with the Plutonian transits. But again, we've all got a Pluto. We've all got the lessons, the shadow work, and I truly feel that when you deal with your own shadow, you're able to bring your light to other people as well, right? Because there's always the light. Now, a lot of people ask me when we talk about shadow work, what is shadow work? How do I do it? How do I know if I'm doing it? How do I know if I'm leaning into it or avoiding it? So I did want to recommend a book that I have read several times, Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark by Robert Masters. If you follow me, you've probably heard me talk about this book a bunch of times because it's amazing. And I will say no more about shadow work. Just check out this book. It's not a long read, very, very profound like Pluto, right? And it has exercises in here, and you go back and you do them again. You can do it, like I just picked this back up after I think it's like 11 months of not looking at it, and I did the exercises again, and I was blown away by how much has changed. And again, that's Pluto. It's slow, deep, transformative change that we don't even always realize it's happening until we come out of it on the other side. And then we can see it more clearly and we realize and recognize what we've learned. Now, we're about to enter Scorpio season, Pluto. which again rules over death, right? Physical, but mostly it's metaphorical. So again, look at what needs to go. What habits, long-lasting habits, are you ready to let go of? Pluto also rules over obsessions. It's our obsessiveness, where we tend to get obsessive and where we tend to try to have power, or where and when can we be manipulative to get what it is that we need or what we want, or maybe we're not using our power enough. So these are all Pluto questions to ask yourself, Pluto issues. And I wanted to just also, because I love, you all know I'm a tarot reader also, so I love tarot. And this is Pluto's card, the death card, number 13, okay? And you can even see in the card that you see the people here and the horses trampling in, the skeletons riding on the horse. It's like, gotta go, sorry, I'm gonna trample in and take everything out because the new needs to be reborn, the new needs to be rebirthed. That's Pluto, that's death. It's funny, not funny, but when I do readings, and I haven't been too keen with my cards lately. I don't know why. This happens every now and then. I don't connect to them, so I don't really need them, to be honest. But some people do obviously enjoy seeing them. But at any rate, people will shudder. I've seen people have a physical reaction to this card. And of course, I mean, how could you not look at it? It's like, hey, what's coming up for me the next few months? And you pull this card and the person panics. Honestly, it doesn't mean physical death. It hardly ever means physical death for me when I'm reading for somebody. It's usually just a huge transformative change, and that can often be, and usually is, beautiful at the end of the tunnel. So keep that in mind. I went off on a total tangent, but I just wanted to talk about Pluto because just listening to Rick this morning validated me in a sense where it was like, okay, I really wasn't feeling that for a reason, and I didn't pick up the ephemeris like Rick did to see the degrees and when it was going retrograde technically and stationary. I didn't do that. So it was just more about what I was feeling. And so it really validated why I wasn't compelled to say anything about it. And then after listening to him, I wanted to talk about it. So anyway, I hope that made sense. Do check out your chart and see what your Pluto is doing, and look at where you are powerful or feel powerful, where you feel powerless, and where are your issues of control or lack thereof, and what needs to shift and change, and how have you experienced it? Okay, feel free to type it below if you want to be anonymous. Obviously, you can always email me. Let me know how you've been feeling your Pluto. Okay, guys, I wasn't done. I wanted to do a little part 2 here. I decided as I was going on and on about Pluto, I'm still in the Pluto zone. So I want to talk about Pluto through the houses, so that this can help you when you do look up your birth chart, or if you already know it, to where your Pluto is in your chart and then where it's transiting. So you can see, just to kind of correlate what's been going on, how you've been feeling, what situations in your life have you had to devote extra time and attention to or lean into more so. Okay, so Pluto in the first house, by birth or by transit. Okay, so I'm going to do like Pluto in just each house, and you apply it if it's by birth or by transit. Okay, so Pluto in the first house, which is also Pluto on the ascendant, transiting your ascendant. The ascendant is like definitely is like the most, if not one of the most personal points in the birth chart, because it's literally you. It's the physical, it's the body, it's I am. This is me. This is my image. This is what I put out into the universe. So if you've got Pluto on your ascendant, transiting your ascendant, it's like I don't want to call it an identity crisis, but it's just like who you are is changing on a very profound level. So internally, maybe on the external, nothing's happening, okay? But on the inside, there's lots rumbling, there's lots going on. And again, remember, Pluto's slow moving, so it's there for a while, and it's like, okay, all these little things are coming up that are irritating me, but those little irritations are forcing you to go deeper and probe inside and look at yourself and say, why is that bothering me? Where is this coming from? Oh yeah, this goes back to my childhood when I was 7, and this is why I'm aggravated. Let me go and work with a therapist. That's what happens when Pluto's on your ascendant, transiting your ascendant, the first house, because it forces you to go in and say, okay, what the heck is going on? I feel like I'm a little, it sometimes does precipitate breakdowns in people, okay? So if you're not, I'm not saying, it's always Pluto based, but if you're not aware or leaning into that, it could manifest like a physical breakdown. Okay, that's Pluto transiting the first house. Pluto transiting the second house is our, it's what we value, it's our money, it's our resources, okay? It's the house of Taurus. So when Pluto transits the second house, be prepared to deep dive and figure out or think about, let's just say, or have situations come up that force you to do so, about your own self-worth, about your, not necessarily your image, but your own self-worth, your value system, the way you handle your finances or don't handle your finances. Where do you give up your power related to money and your values, and also your self-esteem, okay? That's the second house. And you will learn some lessons there if Pluto's in the second. If Pluto's in the third house, this is the house of communication. It's the Gemini house. It's how we communicate, what we communicate. It is the house of siblings as well. So if we've got some issues there with siblings or neighbors or people that we live close to or work closely with, that we see on a daily basis. It's also the house of short trips, short-term travel by car. So again, if Pluto's transiting your third house, those areas are going to be where you're feeling the Plutonian energy. The potential overhaul. In my opinion, Pluto's not as felt as powerfully in the third house unless you have really significant issues with siblings. At least that's my personal feeling. That's just my feeling. Okay, Pluto in the fourth, that is your home base. That's your security. That's your foundation. That's literally where you live. That's what is home for you emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So Pluto going through the fourth can really feel... Actually, Pluto going through any of the water houses, 4, 8, 12, is going to feel extra significant because it's so psychological. And the fourth house is water. It's the house ruled by Cancer. So it does make us think a lot. It makes us go inward. It makes us feel extra intuitive, extra tapped in. And if it's an energy that we're not used to, it can feel really scary because that can make us feel like we're losing it a little bit. That could be when you start getting a lot of psychic insights that you've not maybe been used to before. And, it can feel scary. So yeah, Pluto through the fourth is also issues of childhood, your foundation, where you come from, your lineage, your ancestry. So this could be a time where you find out some secrets because Pluto also rules over secrets, right? It's like the time where you could find out family secrets when Pluto's transiting your fourth house that could have the potential to free you or also have the potential to block you in a way because it's something you didn't know that's now stopping you in your progress. That's Pluto through the fourth. Pluto through the fifth. Pluto through the fifth house is the house of love affairs, creativity, children. So with Pluto going through there, it could be a time where there's a heaviness or lessons to be learned attached to your children, attached to your creative projects. Your creative life, your work life could also be your baby. So think about it that way. So it doesn't have to always be like literal children. It also does not have to be biological children. So keep that in mind. It could be nieces, it could be nephews, the neighbor's children that you babysit for. Children in general are the fifth house's domain. That's the house ruled by Leo. So again, issues of the heart, because Leo rules the heart. So, Pluto transiting the fifth also feels profound everywhere. But through the fifth, it can make you feel like some hard-learned lessons and emotions coming up surrounding your creative projects, your worth also. Children, how you're seen in those roles. Pluto in the sixth house. The sixth house is your service to the world. It's your job. It's what you do for work, let's just say, every day, how you show up and how you serve others. It's the house ruled by Virgo, so we tend to get a little bit methodical and obsessive when we come to the sixth house. And so Pluto there can definitely highlight obsessive compulsive issues or behaviors that we have. They could be really exacerbated under Pluto through the sixth house transit. Also, and on the flip side, it's the ability to transform those behaviors by having them highlighted. And that's the time where you're like, I locked my door. Oh, this is just an example. I went back and locked my door 15 times. I have a problem. Whereas before, and I might actually be guilty of doing that, but as before a Pluto through the sixth, you may have known you do that, but it didn't feel so significant. And then Pluto rips through, I say rips because Pluto feels like it goes so slow, but also goes through your sixth, and it's like, holy moly, like I'm losing it. I have to do something about this because I'm making myself crazy. That's Pluto in the sixth. Pluto in the seventh. Transformation surrounding your partnerships, your marriage, your contracts, your anything having to do with the people that you share with, because the seventh house is Libra, it's partnerships, it's the house of the other, okay? So when Pluto goes through there, you can be learning some deep, profound lessons about your partnerships, how you operate in them, how they operate with you. That could be, again, with Pluto, very positive also. It's not negative. So it may sound that way. It's just very deep. So anything that's Plutonian is deep. That's the word for it. It's deep and it's lasting. So any changes that come up are going to be permanent for you. And that could be a really beautiful thing, guys. So that's why I say leaning into the Pluto energy and what it's trying to show us is really good when you do it. Pluto in the eighth. Probably out of all 12 houses, I would say the eighth one, because it's the natural house that Pluto rules over, is likely going to feel the most profound and deep and transformative. And the eighth house rules over death, physical and metaphorical. It rules over real estate, taxes, other people's resources, inheritances. It also rules over sex, issues surrounding that. And so Pluto going through there can definitely feel, and it's very psychological, so it's a water house as well. So it makes us think, and it makes us go really inward and analyze everything about ourselves and about others and behaviors, and wanting to transcend all of that. But it can feel so hard with any of the houses. It feels hard, right? But necessary. And so I actually feel that it's probably one of the ones, as well as the ascendant, that's can definitely feel like breakdown time, because you get to that point and you're like, okay, this is about me. Like, this is not about what's out there. This is about me. These are my internal, psychological, deep core wounds and issues that I have to face. And that is not fun, right? But necessary. Pluto in the ninth house. The ninth house is the house ruled by Sagittarius. It is the house of long distance travel, foreign travel, politics, religion, philosophy, higher learning, education. So Pluto going through there can question and challenge all of your beliefs. So whatever it is that you initially believed would likely be under scrutiny and transformation and change under a transit like that. And it's meant to be. You're meant to transform some of those beliefs. How boring of a life would it be if we never changed our mindset on anything, or we're never given the opportunity to shift beliefs, right? I don't know. I just find that to be like, do you always want to be so one way, one track minded? I don't know. It's probably all the mutability I have in my chart. But anyway, Pluto in the 10th house, career and public image, how you're seen out in the world. Pluto going through there can also feel like, a crisis of consciousness, and a little bit of an identity crisis, wanting to change who you are out there. And that's kind of a hard one, because it's not as easy to go inward with Pluto through the 10th, because the 10th is such a public house. It's the Capricorn house, so it's very practical by nature. It's not as deep as one of the water houses. It feels more black and white. So Pluto going through there, you want to plummet to the bottom. You want to go deep, but you could feel like there's some blockages getting you there. So that can feel really difficult when Pluto's going through the 10th. But again, it will transform. It has the potential to transform your career. It has the potential to transform your image, how you're seen out in the world. Again, positively, of course, is always the option here that we're going to go for. Pluto in the 11th house. The 11th house is traditionally the house associated with friends or friendships, groups of people that we collaborate with, humanitarian acts, what we put out into the collective. It's collective energy. So Pluto going through the 11th could have you be feeling very hyper-focused on this place in your life, these areas of your life, and where and how do you give up your power, or do you not give in enough? Do you have some issues of control that need to be worked through? How do you work within a group of people? How do you put your energy out there? That could all be under scrutiny for you with an 11th house Pluto or Pluto transit. And then last but not least, Pluto in the 12th. The 12th house is the underworld. It's the psychic house. It's also a water house. It's a house that a lot of times the forces are unseen. So with Pluto there, you probably will be having a lot of profound, intuitive experiences, even downright psychic. You could get glimpses into the other side through your dream state when you've got Pluto transiting the 12th. That's a very deep transit. And also it brings things up to the surface that have long been tucked away, maybe even repressed or forgotten about. It could even be past life, but it comes up for you in this lifetime. Pluto in the 12th definitely brings in like maybe some skeletons out of the closet for you, which again could be very, very liberating. So none of this is negative. I find the Pluto, even though it can sometimes be rough on us, because it does force us to dig deep and unearth the dirt, unearth the worms under the dirt, It's like that time. It's the psychological gunk that holds us down. It's like the ball and chain on our ankle that pulls us down. And so when things come up for us to look at that, it truly is a gift. So if you look at it from that perspective, it won't feel as heavy. Look at what it's trying to show you. Look at what it's trying to teach you. And that is the Pluto energy. So I hope that this helped you guys. My links are below, lisasalvatore.com. Take really good care of yourselves, and I will be back soon with another video. Bye.